All right, welcome to Lesson 7, Writing and Solving Inequalities. So let's look at example 1. Nico is going skiing. A ski pass costs $35 and he can rent the equipment for $8.50 per hour. If he has only $75, how many hours can he ski? So we know he only has $75, okay? This is the maximum amount of money that he can spend on his skis. So as we are writing our inequality, we're going to make sure that 75 is off to the right-hand side because that's the maximum that he can spend. Okay? Now we know that the pass to ski costs $35. And we know that additionally, on top of this $35, he's spending $8.50 per hour. Okay? So in order to figure out how much he's going to spend, we have to add how much he's spending per hour to the $35. Now again, he can't spend more than $75, which means the amount that he's spending has to be less than or equal to 75. Before we solve our inequality, we do want to define our variable. I'm going to say that h equals the number of hours skiing and now I'm going to go ahead and solve my inequality. I'm going to isolate my variable by first getting rid of my constant. So I'm going to subtract by 35 on both sides. This leaves me with 850 times h is less than or equal to $40. Then I'm going to divide by 850 on both sides, and I'm going to find that he can only rent the skis for 4.7 hours. Okay, now we have to ask ourselves, would it make sense to rent the skis for 4.7 hours? We know he can't rent them for 5 hours, right? But can he rent them for 4 hours? Yes, he can. So we would say that Nico can rent for 4 or less hours. Okay, next problem. The country club rents its main hall and dining room out for weddings. The club charges an hourly rate plus a setup fee, and they do not allow people to rent the room out for a partial hour. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to figure out that if the group has $140 to spend, which room should the group rent and why? So we're first going to do the main hall. And we know that they only have $140 to spend. And we know that they're going to have to pay $15 per hour, H being the number of hours rented. So they're going to be able to rent it for $15 times the number of hours plus a $40 setup fee. And we know that they cannot spend any more than or equal to $140. So now I'm going to go ahead and solve this to figure out how many hours they can rent the main hall for. I'm going to subtract by 40 on both sides. So we know that if they want to rent the main hall, they'd have to rent it for less than or equal to 6.7 hours, which we could say, since they're not allowed to rent for a partial hour, we could say that they could rent it for 6 hours. So a maximum of 6 hours. Now, if they wanted to rent the dining hall, we know again that they can only spend $140. We know that they're being charged $12 per hour plus a setup fee of $80. And again, they cannot spend more than $140. So what they spend has to be less than or equal to $140. And I'm sorry, this is for the dining room. Now I can go ahead and solve this by subtracting 80 from both sides, which leaves me with 12h is less than or equal to 60. Divide by 12, and I end up with less than or equal to 5 hours. So now if I had to choose which room they should rent, I would argue that they would be renting the main hall because this is going to allow them more time for their rental. Go ahead and give the Lesson 7 homework a try. Let your teacher know if you have any questions.